and your family, love matters most. So if you remember that, that's week 1. I'm going to ask you guys later, right? You guys got to remember. Week 2, your family matters even though it's fractured, right? Even though it's separating, even though it's broken, your family still matters. When your family changes, your mindset matters. And the last one we're going to go into, and this is my personal favorite, it matters to have more people than your family. Meaning, we can have an extended family. And I'm not meaning like your cousins, your uncles, and that crazy aunt that you just can't stand. I'm actually meaning people like us here together. We are on mission together, we're on a goal together, and we're trying to get someplace, right? So we come here to help each other walk with God. We want to look more like Christ. So as Abby looks more like Christ, she encourages me to look more like Christ. And as I look more like Christ, Charles gets to look more like Christ. And we keep going on and on and on. And Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, so one man or woman sharpens another, right? So that is why we come here, and it's great. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this tonight and remember that most people have a family, but your family can also extend out of that. So let's catch up on what we're learning from.
Growing up, I had 2 best friends, Jen and Ashley. If you had a best friend growing up, you know you do a lot of things together. A lot. I spent a ton of time with them and their families. I ran errands with their moms, watched movies at their house, played sports almost nonstop in their neighborhoods, ate dinner with their families, and almost went blind with the hours of TV shows we binged together. And because I did, I had a close-up view of how their families worked and interacted with each other. They both had incredible families. Their families spent quality time together, talked to each other, and encouraged each other. Their siblings seemed to like each other, and their parents seemed to have incredible marriages. They even took vacations as a family every year. I would think, wait, you already spent all this time together at home, and now you're paying money to spend more time together in another place? At the time, I probably didn't know why I liked spending so much time at their houses. But looking back, I think I know why. I loved being around a family that I thought had it all together. I thought their family was perfect. And if they weren't perfect, which I know they weren't because no family is perfect, I thought they were perfect compared to my family. It wasn't that my family was horrible. It wasn't. It was more that we weren't very anything. Basically, we just kind of existed around each other. We lived in the same house and orbited around each other like a dysfunctional solar system. Imagine the kind you made for your 5th grade science project. For my family, the house was basically where we lived in our own rooms and then ventured out on occasion to watch television and find snacks. And if any of us had the opportunity to leave and hang out somewhere else, we absolutely took it. In our family, we didn't talk about anything meaningful. We didn't do anything fun together, and we definitely didn't take yearly vacations together. And when we did interact, there was fighting, yelling, and slamming of doors. All of this seemed totally normal until I went to my friends' houses. I loved being around my friend's family so much that one night, after getting into a nasty argument with my dad, I told him that I wished Ashley's dad was my dad. I mostly said it to hurt my dad, but I also said it because it was partly true. Maybe you've never said anything as terrible as I did to your parents. If you haven't, congratulations. But even if you haven't reverted to the level of cruelty that I did, you've probably noticed that sometimes it seems like other families have something going for them that your family doesn't. However we feel about our families, we may still have times where we look around and think, wow, it would be great if my family was more like that. Maybe you had that thought about a family on TV, or a friend's family, or a family in your neighborhood or apartment complex. And maybe seeing them makes you wish that your family was better, kinder, or closer. Whatever it is that they have, your family simply doesn't measure up. Maybe for some of you, it isn't that you struggle comparing your family with another one. You simply don't feel like you have enough of a family to compare because your family has never looked traditional. Maybe your experience was one of foster homes and being moved around to different locations and having multiple caretakers over a number of different years. Regardless of your family experience, good or bad, memorable or forgettable, no family is perfect. No family is even close to perfect. And because of that, your family and my family will never be able to provide everything we need in life. In one way or another, family will let us down. That's the bad news. But what if God wants to and can give you more family? I know that sounds crazy, but stick with me, because I think what we're talking about could be a game changer when it comes to the way all of us view family. When you think about dysfunctional families, the Bible is full of them. Meaning the people God has always used to do big things in his world have never been perfect, which is great news for all of us. And what makes the Bible so amazing is that it doesn't try to hide the major dysfunction of the people in it. These aren't stories about flawless heroes. These are accounts of normal, unassuming, never expected men and women who God singles out to accomplish his will. We're going to look at two guys from the Old Testament, David and Jonathan, who came from less than ideal families. Here are a few examples of what I mean. When David was a child, the prophet Samuel came to see David's father, Jesse, because he knew that one of Jesse's sons would be the anointed king. When Samuel asked Jesse to bring out all of his sons, Jesse didn't even bring out David. He thought that David wasn't even worth it. Ouch. On Jonathan's side, his mother seemed to be very passive and uninvolved. His father, Saul, was the exact opposite. He was overly involved, overly aggressive, and borderline crazy. He was obsessed with power and was so set on defending it and keeping it that he tried to have David, who God had told would be the next king, killed on multiple occasions. Saul was definitely not winning any Father of the Year awards. See what I mean? Totally dysfunctional. In fact, maybe that was what made David and Jonathan such good friends. The fact that they could relate with each other's crazy families. In the Old Testament book of 1 Samuel, we're introduced to their friendship. Jonathan is the son of the current king of Israel. David has been anointed by the prophet Samuel to be the future king. In any other situation, David and Jonathan should have never been friends. In fact, they should have been rivals. Think about it. Both of them had a claim to be the future king. Jonathan was in the family line and would have been next up, but God had different plans. And even with all that being true, they were still friends. 1 Samuel 18 describes their friendship this way. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself. I don't know what kind of covenant or pact they made with each other, whether it was a document they signed or some kind of pinky swear, but they obviously took it very seriously. These two needed each other at a time when they weren't getting much from their families. David had been removed from his family, and Jonathan's dad was officially crazy. Whatever family was supposed to look like, it didn't look that way for either of these guys. Later, Jonathan even looked out for David's life. Check this out. Saul told his son Jonathan and all the attendants to kill David. But Jonathan had taken a great liking to David and warned him, "My father Saul is looking for a chance to kill you. Be on your guard tomorrow morning. Go into hiding and stay there. I will go out and stand with my father in the field where you are. I'll speak to him about you and will tell you what I find out." So Jonathan spoke about David to his dad. He talked about all the good things David had done. And probably to the surprise of everyone, Saul changed his mind. Check it out. Saul listened to Jonathan and took this oath. "As surely as the Lord lives, David will not be put to death." This promise Saul made didn't last. But hey, at least Jonathan tried. Even though David was taking what would have rightly been Jonathan's place on the throne, Jonathan was an incredible friend to David. He cared about David, he looked out for David's life, future, and well-being, and he saw potential in David's life. All of us need people like that in our lives. People who care about us and accept us no matter what. People who we can text when we've had the best week ever or when life isn't going well at all. People who care about us enough to tell us when we've posted something we definitely shouldn't and steer us in the right direction. People who see something more in us than we see in ourselves. And if you're a person who would call yourself a Jesus follower, you need people who will encourage you in your relationship with him. But what does this have to do with family? Remember, David and Jonathan found a connection through friendship when their families were full of disconnection. In other words, when there were gaps left by their families, they were able to find support from each other. Did they replace family? Of course not. But they showed up for each other in a way family shows up for each other, even though they weren't related. This is one of the reasons why Jesus established the church. Even though we often confuse church with a building, that's not what it is. The church has always been a gathering of people first. The church is the family of God, the body of Christ. It's a group of people uniquely connected by a love and commitment to Jesus, the way he lived, the messages he taught, and what his coming back to life means for the world. This body of Christ was created to be there for each other, to love one another, carry each other's burdens, and pray for each other. Jesus established the church because he knew that we need other people in our lives. Whatever your family looks like, you still need another type of family. A family that's larger than our immediate family. Think of it this way. It matters to have more people than your family. The writer of the book of Hebrews in the New Testament says it this way. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. We don't meet together as a church just because of habit or routine. We meet because it's essential. We meet for encouragement and support. We meet because we need each other, and we let God and other people fill the potential gaps that have been left by our own families. And here's the secret. When you have those kinds of family of God relationships in your life, it can actually make your relationship with your own family better. They can help you understand each other better and care for each other better. But what does this look like in our lives right now? I think a couple of things. First, focus on widening your circle. Who are the people you can seek out to be a sort of bonus family? Who are the people who care about you? Who are the people who look out for your best interests? Who are the people who could see potential in you? Who would you love to be a part of your family that goes beyond the people you're related to? It doesn't have to be people your age. Think about someone older than you who you can trust, like a coach or a leader at church. If you can't immediately think of someone who fits in this category, ask God to bring some people to you and keep your eyes open to the people who may already be in your life or who God may put in your life in the future. It may be someone you wouldn't expect. As you do that, work on being this kind of person for others. Work on caring about people, looking out for their best interests, and seeing the potential in them, being a sort of bonus family for others. And second, talk about it. David and Jonathan made a pact. Sometimes, if we want people to be involved in our lives, we have to ask them. For example, if you want a leader at church to be like a mentor in your life, or to be someone who can ask you hard questions and hold you accountable, tell them. If you have a small group of friends at church that you want to be less like your classmates and more like brothers or sisters, somebody has to say that out loud. Naming what you want out of the relationship is important. So let them know what you're thinking and be willing to reciprocate that for someone else or for your group. Imagine if, in the next few years of your life, you had a group of people outside your family who felt like, acted like, and loved you like family. And what if those people actually encouraged you and pushed you to make life in your own home better? Not only would that set you up for a better future, it would make your life more joyful. It matters to have more people than your family. Starting today, you can begin doing the work of building your bigger family. It won't happen overnight. Ask God to bring those people into your life. Family matters. You can build a bigger one.
So there's a lot of times in which I look back on my life and I go, man, I made some great connections and even brotherhood, sisterhood with people from my youth group, right? And then got to college, same thing. My roommates, bondship, great. Why was that happening? Why was it going on? It's because we were doing life together that creates the bonds that we have. So as you guys are doing life together inside the journey, you guys get to build the bonds of brotherhood and sisterhood. And these are good things in which God is calling us to do. But here's the thing that she said, and I love the most, and it's what is reciprocated in what I see in Jonathan and David's relationship. You see, she says, ask God, right? Seek God first. So there's a point here. If you are seeking God, and that's where you want to go, So you're at A, God's over at B, you're trying to get the B, right? Who's going to help you get to B? Who's going to help you get to the other side over there? Because there might be people along the way that you might want to hang out with, sit at the lunch table with, play video games on the weekends with, but they're not going to be the ones that are helping you get to your goal of finding and being and seeking God. So when you guys start seeking God wholeheartedly after him, right? Who's the person that's going to be your family around you that's going to help support you, encourage you, and pray with you, right? For me, that was my youth group. That was some of my college buddies that I connected to, right? But seek God. Ask God, who is those around me that is going to be my sister? Who's going to be that mentor around me that's going to help me get to that next spot? I think of when I see David and Jonathan, I said, man, Jonathan, he had the right to be king. He was so close to going through all of that, right? But he had to say no to being king himself. Why did he do that? It's because he loved God. He sought God first before he sought his own power. He didn't do what his father Saul did. And instead, he saw this mighty warrior. This is when Jonathan meets David. It's right after David defeats Goliath. And so you've got this triumphant thing going on, this celebration all over Israel. Jonathan meets David, and he's this, you are awesome. I see where you're at. I see where you're chasing after God. I want to chase after God with you as well. Right? So when you guys go from here into your groups, be praying and thinking, who from here and also outside in Genesis on Sundays are people that I can ask to be my sisters and my mentors and my brothers and my leaders? Who are those people? And ask God that as well. Guys, so happy to have you guys with us for Family Matters. But here's the last thing. Who remembers those points again? What was week 1? When it comes to family and faith, love matters most. The next one was something about family being imperfect, perfect. What was it? Family isn't perfect, it's fractured, but God can still use it. And what was the third one? When things change, your mindset matters. And what's the last night for tonight? Find more people to hang out with and be with than family. You need more people than just family. All right? Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your time tonight. We're going to break into groups. If you are watching online, you can jump on your video chat for your leader that has already sent out your email. Peace out, guys.